Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders of Transformation. I'm excited to have our guest here with us today, Mae McCarthy. She has developed 6 successful businesses into the multi-millions. In fact, one of her business has grown to $100 million in annual revenue. So she knows a lot about business, but she also knows she's got an interesting take on it, and which I'm very interested in. She's written a couple of books, and one of them is called The Path to Wealth. And the most recent book is The Gratitude Formula. And so we're going to talk about that because I love the way she brings the spiritual and the abundance factor into the business space. And so I'm just really excited to have a conversation with her about that. She's also an angel investor. She's a speaker, and she's going to bring a lot to the table here. So Mae, welcome to Leaders of Transformation. We're excited that you're here.
Oh, thank you, Nicole. Happy to be here.
And I'm also happy that our listeners are here. You're the reason why we do this podcast. You know, Mae and I have had a conversation previously, and we can have wonderful conversations, over and over again. But if we don't record them, you don't get to enjoy and benefit from those conversations. So here we are. We're going to have another wonderful conversation, and we're going to record it so that you can be inspired. You can be equipped to be the leader of transformation that you're capable of being. I say this almost every time. I say, you know what? I believe that every single person has unique value and unique gift to bring to the world. And my coaching is all based on helping people to play to their strengths. I truly believe that every single person has a strength. And so I'm just really excited about helping you to bring that to the world and bring it to fruition and make the difference that you're capable of making. And love to hear your stories afterwards. You can go to Leaders of Transformation. I'm tongue-tied today for whatever reason. leadersoftransformation.com. You can go there. You can find us on social media and leave us your comments and share with us your story. We'd love to hear it. And if there's anything we can do to support you along that journey, please let us know. All right, Mae, let's talk about, yes, you are very successful in business. You have a few amazing books out. What is it in particular, let's dive deeper into what it is that drives you, that you're passionate about, that message that you want to share with the world?
I guess if I was going to boil it down to one message, it would be that success is not a secret. It's just a system. And success can be more than just money or status. I mean, success is being whole and complete with everything that you desire and require in every area of your life. That would be your health, your relationships, your harmonious relationships with other people you work with, people in your community, your family, your use of skills and talents in really wonderful ways that give you excitement, that you're passionate about. Your finances, having more than enough to do whatever it is that you want to do whenever you want to do it. And your recreation, time and support to be able to go and recharge, to recreate. And of course, your spiritual connection. What I mean by that is there's an inner wisdom, there's a wisdom in the universe. It's all around us. And when we figure out a way to prepare ourselves to enable it to be more obvious and to show up more often, that is part of success as well.
Well, I love in your book, The Path to Wealth, and you allude to it also in the Gratitude Formula, certainly, is you talk about this spirituality, bringing it into the business world. A lot of times in the business world, they separate it, right? I mean, I've owned my own business for over 30 years, and I always had this spiritual aspect of it, but I didn't necessarily talk about it in the business space for many years because people didn't get it. They're like, oh, that's that woo-woo stuff, or that's that soft stuff, where we're about practical numbers, driving to results, and so forth. So where did this start for you, where you started to incorporate, or maybe you've always done that, but incorporating these aspects into, because we're seeing that more and more. People are saying, hey, you can't separate church and state, or, spirituality and business. And it's like, well, no kidding, right? But yeah, talk about where that started from you, where you discovered the impact of that in your businesses and how it played out.
Well, I guess my first business as an adult, I had a whole bunch when I was a kid. I started my first one when I was 6. But my first business as an adult, I remember getting so excited and jumping up and down and celebrating with all of my sales employees when we would reach our goals. We get so excited. And some reason at 19 years old, when I had that business, I thought, I wonder if we could get excited and be grateful for reaching our goal before we actually did. I mean, clearly it makes everybody happy. So I started doing that. I started getting excited and talking about it, and as though we were already going to reach our goals. And interestingly enough, we met our goals more often than we used to. And there was an excitement and a buzz amongst all the salespeople. And there were creative ideas on how to sell more effectively, to facilitate a fair exchange of value between our company and the customer. And we tended to be more successful than we originally planned as a result. And so I knew that this information that was coming in to illuminate possibilities and illuminate ideas and ways to take steps to achieve our goals could be prompted. We could enable the path for that information, those ideas, that creativity, that wisdom to show up more often in more obvious ways if we started getting excited with gratitude about what we wanted the outcomes to be in advance. Well, you can't see any of that. You can't see where this messaging and these ideas and the gut instincts and the strong thoughts and the messages through other people that just happen to be synchronistic. I mean, you can't see where that comes from. Therefore, I call it spiritual. So I know that there's a source for it, but I'm not hung up on what people want to call that source. It can be called whatever is consistent with their belief. Right. Because belief is a very, very important part to this process. You have to believe that you can receive. You have to believe that you can accomplish. You might not know how, and that's not your job. That's this source of information that's available to you to illuminate the pathway. But you then have to take the steps to get there. You have to have the courage, as Steve Jobs said, to follow your heart and intuition.
Yeah, especially when people are telling you otherwise, which,
yeah.
No, I mean, that's the thing, right? You get in a boardroom, it's like, we should do this. And intuitively, you know, that is not the pathway because, you know, of this intuition that is flowing through. It's like, no, we need to go this direction. I don't know how many times I've had that over my life where I've done that, where I followed my own intuition. And actually, there are times when I have not followed my intuition. And I realized that I should have followed my intuition because it was telling me, you know, the truth.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of people, my motto and what I live by is I don't tell people about what I'm creating until I'm ready to launch. Because there's a human condition, and I don't know why, but there's a human condition that surrounds belief. And your belief might be up here in terms of believing that you can achieve something, whereas someone you talk to, their belief system of the greatest good that they could ever possibly have might be here. Yes. They can't get there. And so they, in all honesty, and maybe in love and truth, they're telling you, don't take the risk.
Yes.
Don't take the risk because they can't see that that's even possible.
Yes.
So when when you're talking about what you are planning to do, there'll be a lot of people that tell you it's not possible. So I don't want to hear that. I know how to create a business plan. I know how to do all my homework and do all my mistakes and all my planning on paper. I know how to talk to people that could be potential customers and find out if I'm even on the right track. I know how to do competitive analysis, make sure that it's not a saturated market, and make sure that I really am solving a problem or creating a convenience that people would pay me for. So to have somebody that just might not believe that it's possible. That's true. They have determined it's not possible for them. But to tell you it's not possible for you, they might not be on the same level, and they might not be as much of a risk taker as you are. And therefore, they want to protect you.
Yes. Yeah, they're doing it, in most cases, they're doing it out of the best interest for you, because they want to protect you from it. So it's not, don't get frustrated with them. It's just that that's what their point of view. And that could be family members, that could be friends, that can be usually it's the people that are closest to us. So yeah.
It's really important. It's really important to surround yourself with at least one person who's a champion for you.
Yes.
And really believes that if you've done the homework and you're ready to go, that of course you're going to be successful. They're just a champion. Now, that doesn't mean that they just rubber stamp stuff. I mean, if they really do see something that seems out of line, they're going to tell you, have you thought about this? And that can help you. But having someone that's a champion for you, that has that mental equivalence of that level of success and even greater, is important. And I've been really fortunate in my career to have very, very successful, very wealthy, much older. When I was starting out in my teens, I had met people who were serial entrepreneurs and hugely successful, and they agreed to be sounding boards for me, and it helped. And they just knew I could do anything, because they knew they could do anything.
Yes. Yeah, that's so true. It's
and that's why having a coach, like you, is important.
Well, and it is a big part of it, but you have to make sure that you have a coach that believes to that level and has that experience, has dealt with their own stuff, so that they can actually be there for you in the way that you need them to be there. Now, you talk about the CSO, which is such an important role I love it, actually. It's such a brilliant, it's obvious, and it's like, well, duh, yeah, call it that. And so talk about what that role is.
So as a CEO, there are people whose advice I value a lot, and I put them in my C-suite. So I've got a CFO, a chief financial officer, that is a subject matter expert on finances. And so they advise me on the financial health of our company. I've got a CIO, or chief information officer, that talks about the latest and greatest in technology and security, and even the technology for our software and our equipment that we sell to customers. And a chief marketing officer and a chief operating officer. So you get the drift. There are these subject matter experts who you really rely on, who know an awful lot, a lot more than I do, about their area of expertise. And I decided that I wanted to bring this source of intuition, this source of wisdom, this source of information that's available to each and every one of us, this spiritual, all-knowing power of the universe that everyone has experienced at one time or another. But I didn't want to get hung up on the title of it in terms of, do we call it God? Do we call it spirit? Do we call it inner wisdom? Do we just call it intuition? I didn't want to get hung up on that. So I decided that I was going to bring it into my C-suite, and I gave it a title, Chief Spiritual Officer, or CSO for short. And it's really funny. I actually placed the CSO at the top of the org chart so that I, as the CEO, reported to it. Oh my gosh. My employees asked me, who in the world is a CSO? Is that like a board seat, a board member? I mean, do we get to meet them? Is it a man? Is it a woman? And my response was, look, the CSO is a principal. If you do your part and always focus on the outcomes that you want in any situation, and you're grateful for them in advance, you'll find that you're going to have these creative ideas or gut instincts, things that show up without any warning, that can be helpful to you in terms of achieving those things that you've been focusing on. So give it a try. If you have a customer that's really upset and you want to resolve the situation, what would your life be like? What would their life be like after the situation is resolved? Be grateful for that. Be grateful for that happy customer who enjoys our superior quality of services and products and loves using them so much that they tell all of their peers at other companies that they should buy from us too. So I asked them to do stuff like that, and then to let me know. Oh my gosh, Nicole, it was amazing. I would get text messages, phone calls, emails every day from different employees saying, oh my God, the CSO did this. The CSO gave me this idea. Oh my God, I can't believe that this just came out of the blue, and everything ended up working well. And in our last company where we did this, we were competing with more than one Fortune 20 company and a couple of Fortune 200 companies. We became market share leader in terms of sales for new business. We launched from nothing to market share leader, and then got acquired for a very large amount of money from a $5.5 billion company out of California. So I know this works. I've proved it in multiple companies. I've proved it in my life. It helped save my life. And I have thousands of stories that people who get a hold of my books send me on Facebook and via email and via my website, and let me know that they're having success too.
Yeah, I love it because you share so many stories in the book, both of your books. You share so many stories, examples, and it's like this belief where we were talking about. If you don't believe it's possible, then it's not going to be possible. But if you start to believe through other people and you realize that, wow, if it's happened for them, maybe it could happen for me. And if I can just try it,
Yeah.
And so you share a lot of wonderful, inspiring examples in that, practical examples about sales, about, praying and asking and thanking the CSO for, new customers and new business and how that's come. It's funny because I've always said, what, God knows where all my customers are, all the future customers. So just tell me where they are, and so I love it. It's brilliant, brilliant. Now, talk about the fraud factor.
Yeah, that's when your goal is here, but your belief system is here.
Yeah.
It's your mental equivalence is a little unbalanced. It's not on par with what you want. And so when you're doing what I describe as a daily practice, you're writing down your goals every day with gratitude as though they're complete. You're speaking them out loud, just so it can be anchored more fully within you. And you're imagining, seeing yourself in the completed goal, watching a movie in your mind of yourself in the completed goal after you achieve it, okay? So when you do that on a daily basis, you feel energized and excited, but you can sometimes feel fraudulent too. Because if your belief level is here and your goal is here, what ends up happening is your brain starts to try to protect you. You see, your brain remembers every single time you had a goal in the past that you didn't achieve, and it remembers how disappointed you were, and how sad you were, and how upset you were. And it doesn't want you to feel that. So if it doesn't believe that you believe that it's possible to achieve that higher goal, that goal that's different than anything you've experienced before, then what it's going to do is put those intuitive messages on mute. So here you are doing a daily practice, but you're not getting any intuitive guidance. Mm-hmm. And you start to feel fraudulent. Well, that's because your mental equivalence hasn't risen to a level to be on par. So how do we shift that? How do you change your mental equivalence to be higher, to be on par with that other goal? How do you end up shifting your beliefs to possibility? Well, there's one way that you can do it, and that is to make what you want familiar and welcome. So go read some stories about people that have achieved the kind of success that you want. Read their stories. If you can go meet them, even better. Talk to them, learn their stories, learn where they came from and how they moved through to the success that they have today. After you start to immerse yourself in understanding what their journeys were, what's going to happen is you're going to go, wow, if they could do it, I could do it. They didn't have any particular different major training or major resource in order to get where they are that's different than I have available. I mean, Jeff Bezos of Amazon started in a bedroom in a garage. So did Bill Gates. Mark Zuckerberg started in a dorm room. I mean, I've started businesses in garages and fourth bedrooms. But when you learn their stories, what you'll recognize is that they're doing what they love. So finding out what you love first. And they are just putting in great hard work and surrounding themselves with people who have great advice. If they could do it, you could do it. So once your belief system rises to the level of your goal, your brain will take those intuitive messages off mute. And you won't feel fraudulent anymore, and you'll have clear directions to get where you want. If you'd like, I'll give you an example of it.
Please.
All right, so I have a friend of mine who lives in San Diego, and you know, he's typical San Diego, loves to be at the beach, loves to do everything. And
I'm in San Diego. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, so he decided he wanted to be a successful real estate agent. And he went to class, he got his license, he started working for a broker, and in the first 8 months, he had very few clients that ran him ragged, and he made a little commission. And he started to analyze about whether or not he was having any fun and whether or not he was making the same or more than he could make just working as a barista in a coffee shop. And he was seriously considering giving up this job. And I was talking with him and I said, well, are you doing your daily practice? Are you writing down your goals of being a successful realtor and being grateful that you have excellent clients and that you're making a minimum or more of X number of dollars and stuff? And he sheepishly replied, no. So I asked him to do the daily practice and I said, do something else for me. Go to events where successful real estate agents are. Find their stories. Listen to their stories. Read about them in magazines. Read about how they went from where they were before they were in real estate to where they are today. All right? I want you to really get familiar with their stories. And I checked in with him a little while later, and he said, you know what? Some of them are coming from backgrounds that were less advantageous than I have right now. If they could do it, I could do it. I said, great. Keep writing out your daily practice goals and see what happens. So as he shifted his belief to possibilities, his intuition was let off mute. And he's had the most creative idea. He had this idea to create this 1 hour presentation using, you know, multimedia and you know, all sorts of stuff with videos. He used to be a professional surfer. He wasn't notable. I mean, very few people knew him, but he knew a lot of really notable pro surfers. And so he was able to put this presentation together and get authorization from his friends that are notable surfers. And he put this presentation that showed how taking business risk is similar to doing surfing risk. And he went to surf shops and corporations that had executives that surfed and offered this presentation for free. Well, in that, everybody loved it. I mean, who doesn't love watching surf movies if you like to surf, right? So he created this really fun presentation, and he's the nicest guy. And he's a great surfer. I mean, he still surfs. And so these executives wanted to go, you know, they Googled him and they wanted to go surf with him. And he made a whole bunch of new friends and got a whole bunch of referrals. He has not only met his original goal for making money, but he has surpassed 2 subsequent goals since. Success is not a secret. It's a system. And if you follow the system, you can be successful.
Mm. You know, it's interesting when we were talking about vision and how important vision is and being able to see it. This also speaks to the fact that, like on social media, we have so many people that are showing their highlight reels. Everything's so perfect. And when
Yeah.
you start sharing the reality of what they had to do to get there, then people will be able to believe. It's funny because the word, you know, it's like, oh, I saw that person and I was inspired.
Mhm.
Literally, that's very accurate,
Yeah.
right? That intuition, as you say, it went off mute, right? And I was inspired, which is being in spirit. I got connected to spirit through
Yeah.
seeing somebody else do it. So
Mhm.
powerful, very, very powerful. Now let's talk about gratitude. You mentioned about,
Love gratitude.
and I've heard this. People have said to me, clients, you know, who start their process and they say, oh, all those affirmations and gratitude, you know, that stuff doesn't work. Well, and it doesn't work for the very reason that you were talking about, right? With the belief and so forth, and or they don't do it in a certain way. So talk about how you do it in such a way that you actually get this type of impact. I mean, this story is just one story, but there's so many of them, and there's a different way that you do it. It's not just being grateful for what you have. You speak into existence what you desire, the goal. Like you said, you thank your chief spiritual officer for it already occurring, rather than I want this and I want this and I want that. And there's a very big difference in that. You talk about that?
Sure. So first of all, not in answer, but just to comment on what somebody you knew said, that, oh, it doesn't work. Well, they're right. I think it was Ford who said that if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
Yeah.
Whatever you think and speak is a declaration to this power in the universe to manifest for you. If you walk around and say, I hope I don't break my leg, I hope I don't break my leg, guess what? You're going to break your leg.
Yeah.
Because you're focusing on a broken leg. Your subconscious doesn't hear, I hope I won't. All it does is make a mental image of you breaking your leg. So the very first thing that I want to point out is that the choice of words is extremely important. Choosing words to describe what you want outcomes to be is probably the most important part of this practice. Instead of saying, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to get out of debt, you would describe what your life is like after you've lost those 10 pounds or after you're out of debt. So you might say, I'm so grateful that I'm physically fit, trim, toned, energetic, and a pain-free body that easily moves through life. And I look wonderful in my new wardrobe. You know, whatever makes you happy, describe that. So after you're done, now gratitude is really interesting because gratitude is one of those choices that you make. When you choose to be grateful, you're choosing to be magnetic. And gratitude is a choice. It's not a feeling. It's a choice. And when you choose to be grateful, chances are you're going to feel happy. It calms you down. Lots of studies have been done regarding the health benefits of using gratitude statements. You even sleep better at night when you use gratitude statements right before you go to sleep. But gratitude has one of those magnetic qualities. So it magnetizes what's following it. I'm so grateful that I'm physically fit, whole, healthy, and complete. Every cell and function of my body operates in the perfection of the original design. Or I'm so grateful that I'm financially free. I'm debt-free, cash flow positive, and profitable always. And I have fun using my skills and talents in remarkable and fulfilling ways to bless others and to be blessed. So when you use gratitude, you're magnetizing the words that are coming out after it. And it also makes you feel good.
Yeah. Well, and there's such a different energy to it when you say, I want to pay off my debt to, you know, I am profitable and all of like what you just described. I mean, there's such a different energy, even in as you were describing it, there's an energy about you in saying that. And it's so profound because everything is energy.
Right. Well, think about that. I want to be debt free, or I want to get out of debt, or I want to lose 10 pounds.
It's the lack.
You're wanting.
Yes.
The goal is to be wanting. Well, guess what? You've already reached your goal. You're already wanting.
Yeah.
So why do you need any intuitive help with that? Your subconscious won't help you either, because the goal is to be wanting. So guess what? You want. So you have to describe it as though it's already done with gratitude. And I know that sounds a little weird, and it probably will feel a little weird to start, but guess what? So did learning how to ride a bike. You weren't perfect the first time you got on a bike. What did you do? You practiced, right?
Yeah.
You practiced, and you saw other people riding a bike, so you knew it was possible.
Yeah.
How about driving a car? You practiced, and you saw other people driving a car, so you knew it was possible. The same with reading.
Yeah.
The same with typing on that crazy keyboard that's not even in alphabetical order. But if you practice on a repetitive basis and see other people that have, and learn their stories to make it familiar and welcome, you can accomplish anything.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
But that anything, I do have to point out that anything has to be in alignment with something that really sings to your heart, something that makes you happy. It would not make me happy to be a guide to take people up to the top of Mount Everest. That's not my joy. That's not mine to do. But it is somebody else's to do, and it thrills them. It's also not mine to be a professional singer. That's not what I love to do. What I love to do is to help others be successful and to be successful myself.
And that brings up a really great point, because it's really getting to the point where you understand yourself and what you want for your life versus what other people want for your life. Now, I would love to shift gears here, because I almost hear people listening going, oh, it all sounds so good, May, and you've had this wonderful life and you've built all these successful businesses. Easy for you to say, right?
Yeah, but I didn't always have.
And so that's where I'd love for you to talk about some of your greatest challenges. Yes.
I mean, I got some help from my mom for college for the tuition, but I had to figure out how to work and buy books and clothes and food. And when I was 16 and my dad had died, I told my mom she should charge all of us kids rent. So we all had to go out and get jobs and pay my mom rent. So if I could do it, anybody could do it. Yeah. And what I did, let's say in my last company, compared to what I did in my first company, are radically different. I lived paycheck to paycheck and ate a lot of top ramen that was on sale 20 for $1. You know, I had roommates and we rented places. So yeah, I know very well what it's like to have $40 that you're going to spend, somehow pool with the rest of your 4 roommates, and buy everything on sale and clip coupons and buy stuff to put in the freezer and pack our own lunch, and, you know, plan on having 2 meals a day because you just don't have enough money for anything else. Yeah. Wear clothes and when they have holes, you patch them. Yeah, I don't do that today, but I came from that. And if I could do it, anybody can do it. Yeah. You just have to put up with 4 roommates in a very small place.
And be persistent and believe, like it comes back to that belief.
And work hard. And you gotta do this repetitive practice, and you've got to surround yourself with people and their stories that give you some hope. Yeah. That you really can identify and say, wow, if he could do it, if she could do it, I could do it.
Yes.
I'm not going to be successful in a week. And that's the bummer about our society today, is that everybody's so used to instant gratification.
Yes.
They forget what it's like to work patiently.
Well, there's also this misconception. Actually, I wanted to ask you about that. This misconception, and I like busting myths. Like, well, that's why or listening to the, what would the potential objections be, and how can we address those? Because, like, let's say, for example, we were just talking about working hard. There is this misconception from people watching The Secret and discovering this, law of attraction, and they can just sit on their couch and visualize a Ferrari and it's going to show up on their doorstep. Well, I mean, it might. You got to be like really good at manifesting for that to happen. There is an aspect of working hard. And I noticed that quite a bit, and especially people who are getting into this whole lifestyle entrepreneurship message, and it's all freedom and fun, and you just hang out and go surfing all day and do all these things. But there's a reality to, to actually working hard and putting the effort and the time in. So can you talk a little bit about that balance of just manifesting, yes, it comes, and there's this working hard piece?
Well, I think it was my first book, in The Path to Wealth, I talk about something that's called action faith. That means you actually have to have some action. You can't sit and just have it come to you, although you're right, it might. I mean, if you're a master manifester. But even, if you believe in some of the biblical stories, even brilliant prophets and Jesus himself had to actually reach his hand in the water to pull out a fish before he could get money out of the fish's mouth. I mean, you can't just sit and do nothing. God can't drive a parked car, all right?
I say that all the time. I'm like, oh, I guess maybe he could, but he won't.
But the point being is that we'll get these intuitive and inspirational messages to take action. Now, the example of that, a real live example for me personally, is I was starting a company, and we were still in a pretty small startup phase. I had like 2 customers, but they were potential big customers, but 2 locations, right? One had 45 locations, the other had 12. And I had 2 of one of each of the locations. And I have a routine. I get off of an airplane, I get my rental car and my bags, I go to the hotel, drop everything off, and then I get back in my car and I go to the closest grocery store to get protein shakes and water and things that I need for my hotel room, right? So I'm in Cleveland, it's 9 o'clock at night, I'm behind the wheel in the car, and I know I've been to Cleveland a bunch of times. I have a customer there. One of my customers is in Cleveland. And so I'm ready to go to this grocery store that I know is 5 minutes away, and all of a sudden I get this sort of flash, this picture of a grocery store that I know is 15 minutes away. It's closer to one of those other 12 locations, all right? But it's across town in Cleveland. And so my rational mind is trying to talk me out of it. And it's saying, may. It's foolish. Don't even think about driving across town right now. It's 9 o'clock at night in Cleveland. You shouldn't be driving across town. And as a matter of fact, young lady, your appointment is at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And you're going to be way too tired if you're wasting any more time driving across town. Just go to the closest grocery store. Can you identify with that?
Absolutely.
Of course. So I, in my daily practice, which I write about in my books, you figuratively stomp your foot, which I did in my car. I stomped my right foot. And I said, hey, CSO, if that idea about going to that other grocery store is something I should pay attention to, let me know why. Now, Albert Einstein said we have that rational mind, the one that tries to talk us out of it. But he also said we have an intuitive mind that's a sacred gift. So this intuitive mind, because I allow it to, started to chime in. said, well, it's true that it's 9 o'clock at night here in Cleveland, but it's only 6 o'clock in Seattle where you came from. It's too early for you to go to sleep anyway. And who knows? Maybe everything you want will be on sale. Just make the drive. So I did. As I'm walking into the grocery store, there's a guy that I recognize walking out at exactly the same time. I met him 6 months before at a trade show. He represented another large potential customer, and he wasn't returning any of my phone calls or emails for an appointment. And here we are, face to face.
Wow.
So we strike up this conversation. Now, I had been writing down, I'm so grateful every single morning in my daily practice. I'm so grateful that our company now receives a minimum or more of $400,000 in new business. We grow to serve our customers in more valuable ways, and our customers thrive and prosper as we're solving real problems for them. Okay, I mean, I'm writing that down every day. So I strike up this conversation with this guy, and he invites me to come and make a presentation to his group while I'm in town. That leads to another presentation and a contract worth over $400,000 in the time frame that I wanted.
Wow.
This stuff doesn't make rational sense.
Yeah.
Intuition and this source of wisdom will give you ideas, will give you thoughts, will give you gut instincts, will have people come and say stuff to you at different times that just seem to be a message for you. It will make no sense. But if you pay attention and have the courage to take action, you might just find that that kind of thing happens for you as well. And I have to tell you, I'm not the only person that does this. Bill Gates said often you have to rely on intuition. And I told you that Steve Jobs agreed. He actually said you needed to have courage. And Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential women of our time, said that she's listened to that still small voice her entire life. And the only times that she's not had success is when she didn't listen. Every other time she follows her intuition. Yeah. So Steven Spielberg, Albert Einstein, Thomas Edison, the list goes on and on. It's a valuable success tool, but it takes practice to recognize how to invite it to show up more often in more obvious ways, and how to have the courage to follow it. And I do outline what works for me, and I know that if people at least just get started, they might have their own inspiration to switch up their daily practice to be even more valuable to them.
Yeah. May, I love this. This is so good. And I would recommend for our listeners and viewers to get a copy of her book, The Path to Wealth. I read both of these books. The second one, The Gratitude Formula. What I love about what you just described there, you actually give them an outline. It's practical. It's try this and then see.
I think that comes from training, hundreds of sales employees that have worked for all of my businesses over the years. It's like, just do this, see what the results are, and the understanding will continue to grow and follow. And then you could switch it up to be more personal to yourself.
Yes. And when you say that success is not a secret, it's a system, whenever you're learning a new system, just follow the system. And then you can make your adaptations later on, your tweaks if you want. You might find you don't want to because it works great, or you find and you discover this way to innovate, and that's great. That's great too. Well, we'll make sure that the links are in their show notes for people to connect with you. Thank you
so much for doing that. We've got events coming up in the fall, and a really, really powerful event that's coming up at the beginning of 2020 in January.
Talk about that.
It's actually a retreat, and we're going to do a lot of great work so that 2020 is a really powerful year for everybody that attends.
So that's going to be on your website, maymccarthy.com?
Yeah, under the events tab.
Perfect. So check that out. Go get a copy of her books. We'll make sure links to both of her books are in the show notes. Also, she has a radio show, Abundance Inc., And
Yes.
I'm looking forward to being a guest on that show.
I'm looking forward to having you.
It'll be fun, and we can continue this conversation. But so great, May. I love this. You're such a breath of fresh air. I've met a lot of very successful business women, and I just find about you that you have this, and maybe you've heard this from other people. You just have this. It's almost like this naivete or this innocence, this lightness about you. But I also know that you're a really good businesswoman, and you're practical, and you make things happen. And so
I think
that combination.
I think it's because I trust. I really do trust that in any situation. And I have to tell you, I've been sued by AT&T, MCI, Sprint, AmerisourceBergen, McCarthy. I mean, lots and lots of different giant companies have sued my companies in the past because for whatever reason, we won every one of them. I mean, because we didn't do anything wrong. I think in the United States, lawsuits can sometimes be a strategy to slow other companies down who are doing well. And that's unfortunate, but nonetheless, you have to have practical knowledge. You have to have practical skills. You have to be courageous and a risk taker to be an entrepreneur. You know that. Yeah. And so when it's necessary, I certainly can show that side of myself. But in this work, what I recognize as I've matured spiritually is that I can always shift to focus on what I want outcomes to be. I want this lawsuit to be dissolved and resolved, where both companies thrive and prosper, and that there's more than enough business for us all. Oh, and my legal fees are returned to me. And it's happened that way every time. So because I've been able to build up some confidence that this system works, I don't have to get stressed out anymore. And neither do any of your audience members. Once they prove, and they have the confidence level, and they prove that they can be guided and directed to manifest what they want simply by shifting their attention to be for what they're for and not what they're against.
Yes.
And they'll have that naivete appearance as well.
I love it. May, thank you so very much. And thank you to our listeners for being here. And I trust that you got some inspiration, literally got some inspiration here from listening to May share, because she's sharing from real life experience. And I do believe that leaders of transformation take action. So go on her website, check out what she's got going on, the retreat coming up in 2020, the radio show, order her books, read her books, try it for yourself, and you'll see the impact of it. And I know this stuff works. I've seen it happen in my life, and I love it. I just so love it that you're talking about this and you're bringing it to the business world, and you've got proof and validation. And it's like, it just brings so much encouragement to people. There's a freedom to this, and there is an innocence to this, and not innocence in a naive, gullible way, but there's an innocence in a trust. Like you said, I love that. It's the word trust. What do you trust in? Mm-hmm. It's funny because people have, talk about manifesting. And I've had people say to me, I need to learn how to manifest. Oh, no. You manifest perfectly. You just may not be manifesting what you really desire. What is the intention? You're trying to manifest. You're trying to avoid something, and therefore manifesting that instead of looking to the future. And so we've got some great tools here. Apply them. I'd love to hear your stories on how they're impacting you. You can go on leadersoftransformation.com. You can find us on social media, but send us a message and let us know how this has impacted you. We'd love to hear your stories. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Leaders of Transformation real soon.